Hi there, I'm Dan Craig. I'm the Dean at the Skokie campus of CSI. Today I want to show you something that's a favorite of mine from a lot of family get-togethers and holidays. It's called a breakfast casserole. The breakfast casserole is very easy to make. It's something that you can make ahead of time and just heat up in the morning if you have a lot of people to feed. So this is a dish that we often have when we have large family get-togethers. If a lot of people are here, it's really difficult to make breakfast in the morning for a large group. But this breakfast casserole you can make ahead of time, and you can put it in the refrigerator overnight and pull it out in the morning and cook it, and it feeds a large number of people. We often do this for Christmas Day, Christmas morning, and it works out great. Everyone's happy. So this dish can be prepared in many different ways. I'm just going to show you one version of it. Really, anyone can make it to taste. Now, today I'm going to make a relatively basic version of it, but I'm going to spice it up a little bit with some of the ingredients that I like. So the preparation time here is probably about 15 minutes. And the total cooking time is roughly 40 to 50 minutes until it's hardened and ready to eat. The number of servings on this, well, kind of depends on how much you eat. If you have a hungry group, one pan might only feed a few people. But generally, I'd say probably you have about 6 servings at least in here, and maybe up to 6 to 8. The total cost of this is maybe $15, but it kind of depends on the ingredients that you're putting in there, and of course you'll have plenty of leftover to do other things with. So the ingredients are 10 large eggs. That's more than 10 right there, but we'll use 10 of those. A cup and a half of milk. Now, for the milk, I recommend some heavy fat content, whole milk, 2%. Unfortunately, today I'm using skim. Yeah, I need to watch my fat. We'll use Dijon mustard, just to spice it up a little bit. Thyme. Now, I recommend fresh thyme, the seasoning, but today I just have the ground version. We'll do garlic powder. I have a big container here, but you can see it's almost gone. We use a lot of garlic powder. Salt and ground pepper. In addition to that, you'll also use about 6 to 8 pieces of bread, just enough to cover the pan when we do this. And you'll use about 1 pound of sausage. This one's a pork sausage. It's a spicy variety, and particularly it's called breakfast sausage. I really like this. Now, of course, you don't have to use sausage for this. You can use ham, that's also very good. But you can use a variety of meats. Or any kind of proteins. You can even use tofu. If you did that, I recommend frying it first before you put it in, so it's a little more chewy. Or you can just leave out the protein altogether and go with vegetables. You have to be a little careful with vegetables, though, because there's a high moisture content, and the casserole will get really watery. So you have to be a little careful with that. If you use vegetables, you might want to cook them ahead of time. Now, let's see. I think that is about it. Oh, I forgot my special ingredient. Crushed potato chips. I know some people think I'm crazy for this, and I'll show you how I use them later. So, well, I suppose it's about time for us to get started here. Oh, geez, I forgot something. How could I forget this? Cheese. About a cup and a half of shredded cheese. I prefer cheddar. You could use just about anything you want. I do not recommend American cheese, the slices. Those don't work very well. But any kind of regular shredded cheese that you might get at the grocery store would work fine. Okay, did I say everything there? All right, good. Now, something I did forget was the materials. So we'll need a frying pan. This is a relatively heavy frying pan. Good to use. We'll use that to cook the sausage. You need a mixing bowl. If you're going to put 10 eggs somewhere, you definitely need a mixing bowl. You need a measuring cup. For this one, I just have a 1 cup measuring cup. That's kind of an all-purpose for me. measuring spoons. In this case, I'll really only use the teaspoon. And here I'm going to use a whisk. You don't need to use a whisk. If you don't have a whisk, you can just use a fork. But a whisk makes it a lot easier. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is start to cook the sausage. Just a minute. A nice brown. You don't need to overcook it. Obviously, it will still be cooked a little bit in the oven when we cook the eggs. But you definitely want to make sure that it's nice and brown. Now, using a cast iron pot for this, or in this case, it's called, I believe, a white steel pan. It gives a nice crispiness to the meat. When you're done with that, you want to drain the fat because there's a lot of fat in there. And now, personal taste, maybe you want that. I don't. So I'll drain that off so that it's just the meat itself. And then while that's cooling, we'll prepare the other ingredients. Okay, well, while we wait for the sausage to cool off, I'm going to start preparing the egg mixture. Now, I have to admit, I cheated a little bit. I already put the 10 eggs in there. You don't want to see me cracking 10 eggs. So what else do we have to put in? Well, we have to put in the milk. Now, the reason why we use milk in here is because it helps it to soak into the bread later on. And you definitely want it to do that. I'll use about 1.5 cups. Now again, a high-fat milk is probably a little bit better for this. It tastes a lot better in the end, but anything you have in the house will do. Then we add our spices. One thing that this recipe calls for is Dijon mustard. It's a nice spicy mustard. Now, you don't need to have it in here, but I think it adds a little flavor that I just love. And here it just calls for 1 teaspoon. Just like that. For the rest of the spices, we have some black pepper. You can do that to taste. I certainly like it. I added quite a bit. I added 1 teaspoon. Garlic powder, another teaspoon. Salt. Some people don't want to use a lot of salt, and actually I'm one of those people. I'll do a little less than a teaspoon there. Then actually for the time I'll do another teaspoon. Now, I'd probably use more if this was fresh, but since this is dried and ground, I'm not going to use nearly as much. Okay. Got to make sure I didn't forget anything. And then you want to mix it. Now, like I said, you can use a fork for this as well, but a whisk really makes quick work of it. I want to make sure that all the egg yolks are broken and it's mixed really well. And I believe I did just that. Okay, now we're going to get set for the meat. I'm going to pull out this baking dish. This baking dish is a 9-inch by 13-inch baking dish. You see it's pretty deep, and you definitely want that. When the eggs are cooked, they'll puff up a little bit, and you don't want them falling off the sides. Now first you're going to put in the bread, and just simply you're going to fit it onto the bottom. I think this one will take about 6 pieces, but this is kind of large bread. It might take more if you have smaller pieces. Now it's good to completely cover the bottom if you can. Now the next thing you're going to do is put on the cheese. Just sprinkle it evenly over the top and get good coverage. Now I have to admit I used a little more than the recipe called for because we are really a cheese family here. Spread that out. I did wash my hands. I washed them between every step here. You just didn't see it. I turned the camera off. Okay. Now I need to get the sausage. Sausage is still a little hot. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes to put that on. I'll be back and I'll finish this up. Okay, well the sausage has cooled off enough, so I'm going to put it on top here. And just again, I'll spread it out so it's nice and even over the top. I want to cover every part here. All right. Then, finally, we pour over the eggs very carefully and as evenly as we can. Oops. And I just made a mess. I guess that's part of cooking. Okay, and the last step here is I'll cover this and chill it overnight. So when we're chilling it overnight, it will soak into the bread and all those flavors will blend together. Then in the morning, I'll wake up bright and early. I'll put it in the oven. Then I'll get ready. Then I'll come back downstairs and serve breakfast to everybody. See you in the morning. Good night. Well, good morning. Well, this has been in the refrigerator overnight and it's time to cook it. But there's one thing that I want to add before I put it in the oven. That's a secret recipe. And I'm going to add some potato chips on the top. I know, you think it's crazy. But it adds a nice little crunch that will be really great when it comes out of the oven. So you want about a half cup to a cup of these. And this bag is good enough, one of these snack size bags. So you just crush up the potato chips and put them on the top. Now I'll put this in the oven for 40 to 50 minutes and it's done when the eggs are cooked all the way through. So now I have time to wake everyone up, take a shower, get ready, and we'll meet down here for breakfast in about 40 minutes. Bye-bye. All right, well, I'm all ready now. I took my shower, woke up the kids, and breakfast is ready to serve. So if you take a look at this, it's very hot. I just took it out. I had it in for about 45 minutes. It's looking great. It smells fantastic. So you want to serve this hot. I'll cut it up with a spatula. Oh, that is very hot, very hot. And then I'll serve it with fruit. So you can have it with your favorite fruit, some of this, and of course, a nice strong cup of coffee. So it's time for breakfast for me, and it's time for me to go. Bye-bye.